So hey everyone, welcome back to Learn with Psudo, where we break down automation concept in a way that actually makes sense. Today we are diving into something super fundamental, most often misunderstood, the difference between find element and find elements. They may look similar, but using the wrong one can break your script and make it unreliable. So let's clear that up once for all. So whether you are clicking a button, filling out a form, or scraping multiple links from a page, knowing when to use find element versus find elements can save your time to and prevent frustrating errors. All right, so why is this important? Okay, so firstly, it prevents test failure, especially when elements might not always be present. Secondly, it improves test reliability since you are handling different cases differently. All right, and third is it handles dynamic content efficiently. So in the modern apps, the number of element can vary at any times based on your application loading. So to handle those dynamic content efficiently, we need to understand where to use find elements and where to use find elements. All right. So what are these two? Find element and find elements are nothing but they are used to locate elements on your web page, where find element will find only a single element, whereas find elements will find a list of elements, okay, like a products in your shopping cart, all right, or maybe all the links in your page. You need to understand when you are using find elements, you have to be more creative in how you are going to handle your objects in your list. Okay, let's take example on it and then we'll come back to the slides again. Right. All right, so I have my PyCharm open. This was the script that we had already done. The only thing I did here is I added a new URL where we'll be practicing our Selenium examples, and I have used a first name to populate with a value Psudo. Okay, and this is my website that I'll be using. So let's run this script using just the find element and see what we get. Okay, so what I'm expecting is, I'm going to remove this as well. So what I'm expecting is it would move to the field name and then it would enter Psudo there. Let's run this. All right, so my web page is open. My first name has a value of Psudo, and then my script is terminated. If I go back, this is completed, right? Now what happens if we use find elements, right? I'm just going to use the same thing. Okay, instead of find element, I'm going to give find elements. All right, and I'll say sudo 2. Let's see if it enters or not. Let's run this. So the web page opens and it enters sudo here, whereas I'm still waiting for sudo 2 to be entered. But let's see what happens. So the script has terminated the execution. Now it says the object has no attribute send keys. That's because find elements will find the object, but it will return a list data type rather than a web element data type. So let's do one thing. So instead of entering something here, we are going to break it down. Let's comment the entering part, entering the text, and let's see what is the data type of it. I'll say search boxes, and I'll just say print type of search box, and here I want print type of search boxes. Let's run this. So it opens the page, it's doing its execution. I'm not expecting anything to be filled on my web page. I'll go back. Now it says the class is Selenium WebDriver Remote Web Element, and the final class is Web Element here. Whereas the second one, when we are using find elements, it returns the data of class list. So it's obvious that list is not having a send key method to it. All right. So a practical use of find elements. Let's take how we are going to use find elements. So filling out a field is something that find element has to take care of it. If you want to fill the fields one by one, you're going to use a loop and iterate through all the elements and fill it one by one. We'll take that example later, but let's understand what is the use of find elements. Suppose we go to this page, right? So this is our application under test, our AUT. We are going to test on this. Let's inspect this. Let's inspect this particular field. Now, if you see this field, this division class has a class name of field and half, right? What does this mean? This belongs to two class, field and half. So what I am trying to do here is I'm just trying to figure out how many classes are there which has field as a class name. So if you see here, this has a field, the second division has a field reference, this one also has. There are multiple which are using field as the class name. So let's first bring the count of it. Okay, so to do that, what are we going to do? We are not going to use this. Search boxes is equals to driver dot find elements. Instead of by id and this first name, I'm going to say by dot class name. And what is the value that I'm looking for? I'll just paste it. Field is the value I'm looking for. So it will store all the web elements inside the search boxes. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to get the count of it. How do you get the count of a list? You need to give length there, right? So you'll write print length of search boxes. Let's run this. All right, so our execution started. Let's head back to our Selenium. See, now if you see, the first one is anyways, we had printed it earlier. Now if you see the second one, it says there are 18 tags or 18 references of the class name field. So field is being referred 18 times. So in this way, you are going to get multiple web elements in one single line of code. All right. And how you are going to use it, that we'll see later. But right now, what we are trying to understand is the difference between find element and find elements. Let's say we are going to search for a field name which doesn't exist. All right. So I'm giving find it by ID. I'll say first name. One thing to note is you have to be very careful with IDs when you are going to pass the value to it. If there is a case error, say if something was small and capital or vice versa, Selenium won't find those elements. It would throw an error that it was not able to find. So be very careful. Whatever is the name, copy paste the exact ID or name inside your Selenium script. Let's run this. What are we getting this time? So it says, now if you see, we have an error. Why is that error? It's because we don't have a field which has an ID first name in all small, right? So what does it throw? If you see here, it says no such element, unable to locate the element with this particular property. Okay, that's because there was no first name. Whereas if we are going to use this field value and find multiple elements, or let's say field 1, we don't have any class name as field 1, right? So what happens if we run this? Let's comment this. So this one threw, what was this? This gave you, let me copy paste this. Okay, so this gave you this error, right? All right, now we are using find elements with field name field 1 as my class name. Let's run this. So what happens is this will again go and search for field or fields which has class reference of field 1. It won't be able to find anything. But the beauty of find elements is even if it doesn't find anything, it's not going to throw you an error. Okay, it's just going to quit silently. What it will return is it will return an empty list, right? Instead of an exception, you are just going to get an empty list here. Now, if you want to just verify that also, we'll say just print the search boxes. It's going to be an empty list. All right. So we are going to print it in a jiffy, but let's first take another concept that we are trying to do here is when you get a list of elements, how do you handle individual element? Okay, so we'll take another search boxes. Let's say search boxes 1 is equals to field, and then in here you are going to iterate upon this list of web elements, right? So how do you do that? How do you do that? So we are just going to iterate. So we'll say for search box, in search boxes, search box dot text. We are just printing it. Okay. Let's try and run this. What do we get? So if you see here, what happened here? Oh, I just gave search boxes 1 I should have given. Let's run this. Now if you see, whatever were the text inside those class name, all those text is printed here. If you want to target individual elements rather than just printing all of it, how are you going to do that? So you are just going to say print. Say you want to print the third element. So you are going to say print search boxes of 2 because it starts with 0, right? It's a list object. So we are going to use square bracket and search boxes of 2. Let's run this. So to open the web page, it's doing its transaction here. And what it printed, okay, it gave me the entire web element. I just want to say .text. All right, let's run again. What do we get? So this time it should be able to print the text. So it says email address here. 1, 2, 3. This was email address. So it printed 3 here. I mean, the third one is email address. All right. So this is how you are going to use your find element and find elements when you are working with multiple web elements or say dynamic web elements. All right, so we are going to use this more often while we are working with other examples. So make sure you have a good control over it. All right, so let's move back to our PowerPoint presentation that we were looking at. We just saw indexing and looping in find elements. We need no loops there, right? We just get one single element and we can just use it directly. We don't need to have any loops there. Whereas in find elements, either you can give an element reference using the index values, or you have to use a loop to iterate over all the elements. Now in error handling also, find the element must be handled within try and except block, or else it throws an exception there, no such element, right? Whereas find element doesn't throw any exception, it will just return an empty list. Okay. And to validate that, you can also use this command. You can use a length of the list, and if it is less than 0, then it means the list is empty here, right? All right, so that's all I had here in this one. Now, a few best practices when you are dealing with find element and find elements is, if an element must be there, you should go with find element. All right, but always wrap it in try and except. If you are not sure whether an element exists or you expect more than one, use the find elements. All right, and always check the length of the result when using find elements to avoid index errors. Okay, so there you go. Now you know when to use find elements and when to use find elements. It's a small detail, but it makes huge difference on how stable or how smart your automation scripts are. If you found this helpful, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Learn with Psudo for more Selenium and Python content. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.